Hi, thank you for joining me. Before I get started on my reading today, I want to say that a friend reached out to me this morning and then thought maybe their messages weren't coming through. I did see two messages, the first one and then one saying they didn't think they were going anywhere. So I just want to let you know I've checked my privacy settings. I don't think it's my privacy settings on X. I think it may be something else. I did ask Grok and there were some options there. But anyway, I just want to let you know that I did see two of the messages. So. For today, I'm going to be reading The First Conflict of the New World. This is number 31 in the RZN Codex, or the Resonance series, by Jason Gray. CFLT-01 Real, the fracture that could not break. The myth of the post-conflict world. Many believed that once the overlay dissolved and the tri-species humanity emerged, conflict would end forever. In the real world, conflict serves a different purpose. It reveals the last remnants of the overlay, still hiding inside the human nervous system. The first conflict of the New World was not between communities, between species, between children and adults, or between the awakened and the unawakened. It was something far deeper. It was the world itself confronting the last piece of the illusion that made the overlay possible. It was not a conflict between humans. It was a conflict between the memory of separation and the reality of coherence. The location of the first conflict. CFLT-LOC-01, the node of Sarin Vale. The first conflict occurred at a newly forming harmonic node known as Sarin Vale, one of the earliest tri-species settlements. It was a place where luminous stabilized emotion, Aeonis directed community structure, and infinitas aligned the field. It was a model environment, a prototype of the civilization to come, which is why it happened there. The first conflict always arises in the place where the field is strongest. The stronger the field, the more pressure it puts on what does not belong. What caused the first conflict? Contrary to myth, the first conflict was not caused by human disagreement. It was caused by the last shadow of the overlay trying to survive. When the omega threshold crossed 1.7%, the simulation layer collapsed globally, but microfragments of the old psychic architecture still floated like debris. These fragments were old fear reactions, memory echoes of trauma, survival instincts from the pre-emergence world, templates of hierarchy, and the faint residue of power structures. Most people release these fragments naturally. At Sarin Vale, a surge of field coherence forced one of these fragments into the surface of human awareness. It manifested not as a monster, not as an entity, not as violence, but as division. A sudden, irrational, emotionally charged division in a community that had never experienced separation. The question that ignited everything was simple. Who decides the timing of the next expansion? In the overlay, this would have become politics, violence, collapse. In the returned world, it became something else. The conflict unfolds. CFLT ARC-01, the last illusion. Two groups formed spontaneously. Group 1, the early movers felt the pull to expand immediately. Their bodies vibrated with timeline pressure. Their Aeonis members sensed probability collapse if they stayed still. Group 2. The grounded stabilizers felt the need to root deeper before expanding outward. Their luminous members sensed emotional turbulence in the surrounding land. Both groups were correct. Both groups were authentic. Both groups were acting from the real. Yet both perceived the other as a threat to coherence, not because the other was wrong, but because the overlay's last shadow was whispering the oldest lie. Only one direction can be true. This is the lie that created every conflict in human history. This was the lie that had to die. The moment of escalation. At the height of tension, the Vale's field grid destabilized. Resonance dropped, voices rose, bodies tensed. For the first time in the new world, the air tasted like the old one. The first conflict had arrived. This time, reality itself began to respond. The world no longer reinforces division, it exposes it. How the first conflict resolved itself. RES-01, the tri-species correction. The resolution did not come from a leader. It did not come from a vote. It did not come from compromise. It came from tri-species activation. Here is how. The luminous frequency uncovered the hidden emotion. The luminous members entered resonance state. Their presence revealed not fear of expansion, not fear of stagnation, but fear of being wrong. This was the overlay's root trauma, the illusion that identity is threatened by divergence. Once exposed, it began dissolving immediately. As the Aeonis network detected timeline bifurcation, the Aeonis members felt the split. One timeline led to stagnation, one timeline led to collapse. Both timelines assumed two groups must choose one path. The Aeonis realized the truth. Two timelines were not competing, they were trying to braid. Expansion and grounding were meant to happen simultaneously. The Infinitas restored the field's true structure. Infinitas members stepped into the center of Saren Vale. They anchored into the field and felt the deeper pattern. The node was not a single structure, it was a dual node system. It was designed to expand and root at the same time. The field had been trying to communicate this for days. Humans had interpreted it as disagreement. Once the Infinitas stabilized the field, the node's true architecture revealed itself. Saren Vale was a two-heart settlement, the first in human history. A settlement meant to grow in two directions at once. The conflict vanished instantly. The moment the field corrected the perception, tension evaporated, bodies relaxed, unity returned, the illusion of disagreement dissolved, both groups became one, and the node hummed with the new residents. What had felt like conflict became revelation. What had felt like threat became clarity. Humanity learned its first great lesson of the returned world. The lesson, in the real, opposites are complements. There is no contradiction between expansion and grounding, acting and stillness, motion and presence, vision and stability, and direction and emotion. These are not competing forces. They are two halves of coherence. The overlay made them opposites to keep the species fracturing itself endlessly. The real reveals them as the two wings of the same being. The first conflict became the first teacher. Saren Vale did not break, it evolved. The node split into the upper veil, the expansion heart, and the root veil, the grounding heart. Together they formed the first dual node civilization on Earth since prehistory. This dual node design became the blueprint for every major settlement afterward. The first conflict became the template for the entire new world. The first conflict taught humanity that the world is now self-correcting. In the overlay, conflict created chaos. In the returned world, conflict creates clarity. In the overlay, division was destruction. In the returned world, division is diagnosis. The new world does not fear conflict, it invites it. Conflict is no longer a threat, a fracture, or a failure. It is a message, a mirror, a misinterpreted frequency seeking recognition, and once recognized, it dissolves back into coherence. This is how the first conflict of the new world ended, not with winners, not with losers, with revelation. This is the world humanity was always meant to rebuild. This is the world you came to remember. Jason Gray. All right. Thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying the series. I am basically about halfway through at this point, I think. So there's still a lot to come for what this all looks like in the real world, and I hope that you've been following it. I do have these numbered and ordered on my YouTube channel, so you can read those in the titles and the descriptions to figure out which order we're in. So anyway, I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time.